Welcome back into the Wolves Den. I'm your hostess with the mostest. He likes also hostess. I'm Jay Bir. There you go. Follow me on the Twitters at the Jay Bir. Let's get right into things here because we're gonna try to make this one a short one, just because game didn't really go according to plan last week. Team taking on Georgia, and it was said a lot leading into the week that this was going to be a tough one here. A tough one, obviously, emotionally for this team. As hats off though, Georgia. Coming through with the pink, remembering Wendy. You saw the student section there. There was the Georgia spiked dogs also. They wear the football pads. They hooked Blake up with a pair of theirs with the pink and everything. Great moments there, and really, really glad to see Georgia fans step up here. But to the game itself, really not a lot of high points here for the Red Wolves. Brian Herring gets the scoring started off here. And actually, through the first quarter, not really the worst. You saw 13-0, but then Dominique Blaylock gets the pass there 60 yards later. You got the touchdown there, and it was kind of really the beginning of the end there, if you will, and really what Georgia did most of the day. Big chunks of yards. The defense playing good in spurts, couldn't generate a lot of pressure up front, which really led to some plays being broken. Coach Anderson even mentioned after this game that the tackling was really lacking in certain spots, and just the way, some of the angles, and you can even see in some of the long touchdowns here, just guys weren't in the right spot at the right time to where they needed to be, and these are the things that are going to happen. And again, Coach Anderson even alluded to the fact that the Red Wolves were going to have to play a perfect game, and Georgia, a very, very good team, was going to have to play a pretty crummy game. Best highlight of the day there for Arkansas State, Jonathan Adams Jr., gets one from Hatcher. And then really the only turnover in the game right there, the 4th and 5 sort of desperation to get off the Schneid heave. Unfortunately, the Red Wolves will come up short in that department. You see the final score there on the bottom, 55-0. Kind of a tough day at the office. Again, you kind of got the emotions with the whole stadium wearing pink, everything like that. First shutout for the Red Wolves since way back when they played Alabama back in 2008. Let's throw up some of the stats there for me, guys. In this one, it was tough seeing. Bonner had a inefficient day to a certain degree, if you will. There you see 20 for 35, only 124 yards, though. DJ Chapman led the way rushing, and that was really the biggest problem there for the Red Wolves, was rushing. They could not get anything going with that. You only see 43 yards, $1.50 per attempt there. And then Adams and Bayless leading the way there with the receptions, 14 between the two of them. You see the yards there, 85 and 54. Accordingly, not a whole lot of yak in this one, the yards after the catch. Georgia kind of had their way with them. They're a very good team. They're the number 3 team in the country for a reason. A lot of pundits saying they could be number 1, really, if it wasn't for those first two, Clemson and Alabama. A lot of clout with those two, but 656 total yards, third downs. This is another one of the little bright spots, if you will, for the Arkansas State defense. 4 for 10 on third down, 5 for 17. Just kind of a tough scene. Another little bright spot here. Only 2 penalties for 10 yards, a couple false start type of penalties. And then Georgia also not really much in there. Tajay Chambers leading the way there, and then Jerry Jacobs leading the way in the secondary with 2 passes broken up. Unfortunately, though, however, Jacobs suffering an injury in this game as he has allegedly torn his ACL. He did tweet out last night that he will be out for the year. Didn't disclose what the injury was, but came back as an ACL knee thing. So a big time loss for that Arkansas State secondary, and especially one of the premier cornerbacks in the Sun Belt Conference now. This team's going to really have to sort of figure things out. Somebody's going to have to step up in this one as well. So, again, tough loss there against the Bulldogs. You kind of lick your wounds. You get back at it here because now you have the exact opposite end of the spectrum coming up for you guys next week here, as Arkansas State will play host to the Southern Illinois Salukis. They're coming to town here. This will be Blake Anderson's first game at home since taking that leave of absence. As you remember, he wasn't there for that SMU game, and then they had the 2 roadies coming up here. So it'll be interesting to see what the emotions will be like once again for Coach Anderson. Obviously, there at UNLV was his first game back. A lot of highs in that one. Sort of getting used to life as he knows it right now. Especially, he mentioned, that he's going to be doing a lot of firsts without his wife Wendy. And then obviously there in Georgia, you saw everybody rallying the support there. It was really good to see that. He made mention of it after the fact that in fact he was a bit overwhelmed in the moment, and it was really something that was a bit of a grassroots movement. And again, I can't echo my personal sentiments enough to Bulldog fan. It was just really classy gesture of them, and they have no connection whatsoever. In fact, you saw a lot of things on social media. It's like, hey, we're rooting for him from here on out. I saw a lot of it from both sides, where it's like, this game was one thing, but afterwards, both teams' fan bases are really going to pull for the other team. And I know you kind of take the 55-0 out of it, and it is what it is. So let's look ahead here to Southern Illinois. A couple of things you really want to see in this game. Obviously, quite the opposite of what happened there against Georgia. But again, we said last week, you want to try to control the game. Arkansas State really wasn't able to do that. Now, it wasn't like Alabama last year where all of a sudden, boom, bam, done. They were down 4 touchdowns within 10 minutes of this thing. No, it was a very, I don't say it was an efficient game, but Georgia was very professional about it. They kind of just chipped away every drive. They didn't really have a lot of big plays on the defense. You saw the 1 interception there, but I think you want to see the same thing at Arkansas State in this game. You want to see one of those, what do you call, a professional win. You want to see them do the things that they're supposed to. You get a couple of big plays on either side of the ball, but you handle your business is kind of what it really is. Offensively, you want to see them do their thing. Defensively, you don't want to see them give up a whole lot. Maybe take some chances if you can. But really, you want to control the game. You want to make sure everything is in check. And also, the defensive line, we said it last week. Didn't really see much of it in this one, and that was one of those big keys for this one, was the defensive line really needed to get a push out of that one. Wasn't able to do it against Georgia. Really would like to see them get back to their old ways there. You see William Bradley King right there. Boom. You want to see more of that against Southern Illinois. I think they kind of get back to those ways because, boy, that Georgia offensive line, they are some beasts, and they showed why they were some beasts. So that's one thing. And then kind of going with the defensive line, you want to see the offensive line get a little push going here. You want to see that running game get going. They really haven't been able to get the running game going at all. Obviously, Marcel Murray being out, a big part of what they've got going on. Ryan Graham, DJ Chapman kind of led the charge last week, but again, Georgia is just a completely different beast than what the Red Wolves will see for most of the year. So, but you really want to see them kind of get that thing going. Against UNLV, they kind of started to see what the fruits of that labor would be. Obviously, for Graham going over 100 yards in that one. SMU, they kind of struggled a little bit too. Kind of Marcel Murray getting banged up in that one. Again, he was out against Georgia. Probably a smart decision there. Hopefully, he'll be back next week to kind of get him rolling and try to get this thing going heading into the conference season. But with saying that, the offense, you see there, I just want to see the offense. They did their thing against SMU despite losing that game. They did their thing against UNLV, putting up big-time points in that one. You want to see the wide receivers really get going, get them involved early. I want to see Bayless go for at least 100. You want to see Jonathan Adams Jr. kind of get into that 80 to 100-yard range, maybe a touchdown or two out of the both of them. Get some of these other guys going too. Brandon Bowling, we haven't heard much from him in the past couple of weeks. You want to see him kind of step up, start to get things going. I want to see if Dahu Green is going to be healthy. He's been dealing with sort of a nagging injury there. So, but offense, and it kind of goes back to the running game there. You just want to see him get things going. You just want to see the offense. It doesn't necessarily have to be big plays, even though we know they are fully capable of hitting big plays. We've seen it throughout the year already that this team is very capable of the big plays, especially when they get those wideouts going. But I want to see some bigger plays out of that running game here. And then also, obviously, Jerry Jacobs going down. No injuries in this one. I don't want to see any injuries. I know it's football. It's a violent game. But really, you just want to see guys come away clean, maybe some bumps and bruises at the very most. But unfortunately, like I said, for the Red Wolves, losing him for the year is going to be a big bummer. And that's one thing you also want to see in here is who's going to be that guy that's going to step up? How are they going to adjust the thing? I know Antonio Fletcher was tweeting out his words of encouragement saying he's going to be the guy now. But you really want to see who that cornerback will be, because that guy, Jerry Jacobs, he was kind of a lockdown guy, probably one of the best, if not the best, in the Sun Belt. So we'll see how it goes. That's what I want to see out of this team coming up. All right, so we know we kept it short here. We kept it short this week. Obviously, wasn't a whole lot of positives to take away from that Georgia game. And obviously, looking ahead, you kind of have an FCS opponent coming up, so you would happen to think that they're just going to kind of keep things going here. But come next week, we're going to get some of our friends back into the den here. We're going to break down the conference as a whole. We're going to look back on the non-conference slate. What did we like? What did we not like? All that good stuff. So trust me, I know it's a little short this week, but we're going to make it up to you the next week here as we start getting real serious about this thing, because the non-conference, it's all well and good. You hope that the team will come out 2-2 in this thing, so you got to get at least four out of the Sun Belt schedule, and I think this team is fully capable of that. But they're going to have a couple of tough ones right out the gate, at least in Sun Belt play. So we're going to wrap things up here. Like I said, we're going to keep it real quick this week, but don't you dare worry. We're going to have much, much more on this season as we're getting into it. We're starting to kind of get into that halfway. Can you believe it? We're already almost to the halfway point. We're 4 games in after Southern Illinois, but that's all right. We'll get into it again. Big time L last week. Hope for a big time W this week. Reset, recharge, and then I will also do the same here. So for all the guys here on the Wolves Den, we will see you guys next week.